Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the channel. So I just got back in from my morning walk, and oftentimes when I take my walks around the neighborhood and look at all the pretty places I can photograph, I come up with topic ideas, and this one I think is a really great one for everybody. It's a really simple question. Do you have to edit your drone photos? Actually, even broader than that, is it necessary to edit any of your photos? Well, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. All right, everyone. So here we are back, and right now in the upper corner here, we've got some video of my Lightroom library. So a couple of days ago, I went out to Goldwater Lake. We did some photography, we did some video. We were showing off the new section of Goldwater Lake, which is the lower lake. So they've always had the upper lake open to the public, and now the second lower lake is also open to the public. So we thought it'd be a great idea to go out and get some images. So I just wanted to show you two images, and these are actually the same images. So on my Mavic 2 Pro drone, I've got it set up to photograph both JPEG and RAW, and it's not necessary to do that. You could set up just to do RAW photos, you could set up just to do JPEGs, or you could set up to do both. So what we're looking at on screen here, let's pull the screen up. And there we go, just a little screen swap so that we've got Lightroom full here on the screen and I'm down in the lower corner. So what we're looking at here is the same exact image. The one on the left is a RAW photo. It's a DNG file from my Mavic 2 Pro, and on the right-hand side is a JPEG shot of the same scene. I'm going to hit the tab key here really quick, and we're just going to take a look at that DNG first. So let's go ahead to the develop module. And let's take a look at that DNG. If you take a look over at the left-hand side, you will see that I have done a good bit of editing on this one already. And let's zoom that back out. What I'm going to do is just scroll down to the start of my edits and take a look. So this is what came out of my camera in RAW format. Now keep in mind, RAW gives you more flexibility for editing, but let's arrow over one. So now that we see what came out in the raw shot, maybe you're not big into editing, maybe you don't want to spend too much time or there's too big of a learning curve, whatever it is. Let's take a look at the JPEG that came out. And that JPEG came out really nicely. So if I hadn't shown you the raw file and the final edit of the raw file, you probably would not have minded that JPEG. So let's go back down again, and let's just say we came home, we offloaded our images. Here we go. Image number one is the raw image. Image number two is the JPEG with no edits as well. So the JPEG setup on my Mavic 2 Pro does a great job. How about for your drone? Well, that's going to depend on the type of drone you have, the camera, the sensor, a whole bunch of things are going to go into it. Most likely you're flying DJI as well, since that seems to be the vast majority of drone operators all utilize DJI here in the US. Then you're probably going to be able to produce some really nice JPEGs as well. Let's go ahead and hit the G key because I want to take a look at one more thing. And so in answer to this big question, should I edit my photos? You don't have to. It's not required. There aren't photo police out there saying, oh, you didn't do any edits. So if you're out having fun, if you're learning how to shoot not only with a drone, but maybe with a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, or even your smartphone, do we have to edit? No, we don't have to edit at all. But when we're doing something like images for realtors, twilight photos, dawn and dusk photos, showcasing locations, then yeah, maybe we're going to need to do some editing. So on the left-hand side, once again, we have the DNG file. We got the raw file, completely unedited. So this is what came out of the camera, and clearly it's going to need some work. On the right-hand side, we have the JPEG, but I did a little editing to the JPEG. So if we were to put the JPEG back, let's go ahead and just take a look at that JPEG, and let's hit the develop key on it. And once again, over in my history for editing, I have a lot of editing going on here. Let's zoom this back out and let's go to the start of that history. And so here's where we're at. The JPEG just came out of the camera. So not so great, and it's passable, but it's not something that you'd probably want to do commercially and provide to a client. You probably want to do some more work, especially at the dawn and dusk photos. Those are pretty important ones there. So let's go ahead and go back to our grid view once more. So bottom line, no, we do not have to edit our photos at all. And we could just set things to JPEGs. So let's just take a look here. So we're looking through some more of the images from Goldwater Lake. So once again, here is a RAW file straight out of the Mavic 2 Pro. And here is the JPEG. That JPEG's pretty passable. So right out of the camera, right out of the drone, I've got stuff that I could share with friends and family and be pretty happy with. So vacation photos, travel photos, we're not always going to be setting up the tripod, doing everything handheld, going to manual mode. Sometimes we just take a photo quickly and on the spur of the moment, and that's okay. You're allowed to do it. So there are so many channels, mine included, that do tutorials on Lightroom and Photoshop and Affinity Photo and On1 and Topaz and all these different editors. And so there's all these tutorials saying, here's how to edit these things. But the bigger question is, do you need to? And the short answer is not necessarily. The long answer is maybe, depending on your purposes. So I'm just going to arrow through a couple more because we were just showcasing the upper and lower lakes. So here we go with a RAW file again. And here we go with a JPEG. So the JPEG has already, been set up in our camera, whether it's a drone or any other camera. And so usually you'll get something decent out of your JPEGs, of course. So let's just take a look through a couple more of these and you can see really quickly. So here we go, unedited RAW file and an unedited JPEG. Could I pop this up as a banner on my website? Could I use this as a header on a client website? Absolutely. This is passable, this is workable. And if we're showcasing these particular lakes, we can do a lot with this. So while you don't have to edit, I would suggest that if you're new to editing, whether it's your drone photos or any other type of camera, DSLR, mirrorless, 360, iPhone, Android, that there is some value in learning how to edit. You don't have to use all the tools I use. I heavily use Lightroom, but there are other editors out there that you can utilize, even free editors like the open source GIMP, for instance. But when we're getting this kind of quality out of our JPEGs, I'm feeling pretty good about this. And so had I not shown you the differences, I think you would have thought, hey, Rich, that looks like something of a nice picture. And you're right, it does look like something of a nice picture. So, and of course, it doesn't hurt that we're at a beautiful location. So there we go, everybody. Well, you're not required to edit your photos, and there is no tribunal out there saying, well, you didn't edit your photos, so you're not allowed to photograph anymore. There are opportunities, of course, to enhance the images that you're presenting online, in print, to your clients, however you're delivering your final images to them. While it's not necessary to do heavy edits, you might want to do a little additional editing just to get that perfect shot for your clients, for your friends and family, or just for the album you've got on your own desktop that you like to go back and look at. All right, everyone, hope you've had a great 4th of July weekend, and we'll see you again really soon. Remember, you don't have to edit, but it might be helpful.